The music dies in the middle of a laugh. Not slowly. Not gently. It snaps, like a string pulled too tight. 1 second, the room is floating on soft jazz in expensive joy. In the next, a sharp voice slices straight through it. Excuse me. You don't belong here. Time freezes. Glasses. Pomadour. Smiles collapse into stiff masks. At the edge of the room, under the warm glow of a chandelier, worth more than most people's houses, a black waitress stands perfectly still. She is holding a silver tray, balanced carefully in both hands, just like she was trained to do. Her uniform is pressed, her hair neat, her shoes polished enough to reflect the golden light above her. Everything about her, says professional, respectful, invisible, but invisibility has limits. When someone decides to see you as a problem, the billionaire takes a step toward her. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Powell never does. He lowers it instead, turning the words into something sharp and personal, something that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. This is a private party, he says, eyes scanning her like she's clutter in his living room. Leave down. Silence spreads like spilled wine across a white tablecloth, thick, uncomfortable, dangerous. Guests look anywhere but at her. At the floor, at their phones, at each other. Someone lets out a quick, nervous laugh, hoping to smooth it over, hoping to pretend this is nothing. No one says her name. No one asks a question. No one steps in. The waitress feels every stare without anyone actually looking at her. She feels the heat rise to her face, the familiar burn of being singled out in a room full of people who have already decided she doesn't matter. Her mouth opens just a little, as if she might explain, as if she might remind him that she was hired, that she was told to be here, that she belongs where her work placed her. But she closes it again, nods, once small, controlled, dignified, the kind of nod that says, I hear you, even when the words shouldn't have been spoken. She turns carefully, the tray still steady in her hands, her back straight, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. That's when he adds it. The extra line. The unnecessary one. The kind of sentence people with power throw out because they can. And don't come back. It lands heavier than the first order. Not louder. Just crueler. The doors close behind her with a soft click. Polite fino. Inside. The billionaire exhales and lifts his glass like nothing happened. Someone starts clapping lightly, unsure why. The music fades back in, awkward at first, then louder, like it's trying too hard to fill the space where something went wrong. Conversations restart, but they don't sound the same. Laughter is thinner now, forced, like a performance everyone suddenly knows they're part of. A woman, in a silk dress, glances toward the door, then quickly looks away. A man clears his throat and makes a joke about service standards. Another nods along, relieved someone said something. The billionaire smiles, satisfied, as if he just corrected a small mistake in an otherwise perfect night. But something lingers no one can quite shake. The feeling that the room shifted, that the air changed, that something important walked out with her. Outside, the hallway is quiet. Too quiet. The soft hum of the party behind the doors sounds distant now, like a world she was never meant to fully enter. The waitress takes 3 steps, then she stops. She sets the tray down carefully on a service table. Her hands tremble for just a second before she stills them. She closes her eyes and breathes in slowly, the way she learned to do a long time ago. In, out, in, out. She turns her head and looks back at the tall glass windows overlooking the estate. From here, the party looks unreal. Like a movie scene. Glittering lights, glittering silhouettes, people who will never remember her face. Only the moment she made them uncomfortable. Her jaw tightens. This isn't the first time. Someone told her she didn't belong. It's not the first time she was mistaken for someone smaller, weaker, disposable. She has heard it in different voices, in different rooms, dressed up in different words. Tonight just happened to be louder, public, sharp. A younger server approaches her, eyes wide, whispering that she should just go home, that it's not worth it, that people like him don't change. The waitress nods politely, thanks them, and waits until they leave. She doesn't move toward the exit. Instead, she stands there, staring at the reflection of herself in the dark glass. She sees the uniform, the tired eyes, the strength it took not to cry in front of all those people. Shall sees something else, something they didn't, resolved. Inside the estate. The billionaire tells a story about how he built everything from nothing. He talks about discipline, about standards, about knowing who belongs in which room. People listen, some nod, some smile, some feel a quiet discomfort they can't quite name. Outside that room, the waitress reaches into her bag. Her fingers brush against something solid, familiar, important. She doesn't pull it out yet. She just lets herself feel its weight, grounding her, reminding her of who she is beyond a uniform. The party goes on, but the laughter never fully recovers its rhythm. The billionaire doesn't notice. He's too busy enjoying the way people orbit him, the way his words still command attention. He has no idea that the moment he thought he ended something, he actually started it. Because the woman he dismissed so easily is not leaving the property. She's not calling a ride. She's not disappearing into the night the way he expects people like her to do. She stands there, calm now, centered, watching, waiting. This isn't the end of her night. It's only the beginning. Inside the estate, the billionaire moves like a man who believes the room bends to him. He laughs louder than everyone else. He gestures with his glass, as if conducting an orchestra made of people instead of music. He makes a joke about standards, about how some spaces require a certain level of polish, a certain look, a certain kind of person. A few guests chuckle right on cue. Others smile because smiling feels safer than thinking. Power, when displayed like this, doesn't shout. It relaxes. It assumes agreement. Not everyone belongs everywhere. The billionaire says casually, as if he's sharing a harmless truth. That's just how the world works. Heads nod. Slowly. Carefully. Carefully. One man leans in and adds a comment about professionalism. Another mentions expectations. Words float around the room, dressed up as logic, but they all point in the same direction. The billionaire enjoys it. He feeds off the quiet approval, the way no one challenges him. He mistakes silence for respect. Across the room, a woman in an elegant dress tightens her grip on her glass. She remembers the waitress's face. The way she stood there, frozen, before turning away. The woman starts to say something, then stops. She looks around. No one else is speaking up. The moment passes. The glass clinks softly as she sets it down. Outside the glow of the chandeliers, the waitress sits alone in the narrow service hallway. The walls are plain here. Functional. No art, no music. Just the low hum of air vents and distant laughter leaking through closed doors. She rests her elbows on her knees and stares at the floor. Her hands tremble. Not from fear, but from holding too much in. She thinks about the way the room went. Quiet when the billionaire spoke. About how fast people looked away. About how familiar that silence felt. She remembers being younger, standing in places where she was tolerated but never welcomed. She remembers being told to keep her head down, to work harder, to not make trouble. Tonight was supposed to be simple. A shift, a paycheck, dignity earned through honest work. Instead, she was turned into a lesson. A fellow staff member approaches her quietly, glancing back toward the party as if the walls themselves might be listening. You should just go home, they whisper. It's not worth it. Is not the kind of man you fight. She looks up slowly. Her eyes are calm, but tired. She exhales through her nose and nods. I know, she says. But she doesn't stand. She doesn't reach for her coat. She stays right where she is. Inside the main hall, the billionaire raises his glass higher. To success, he announces. To hard work. To building something from nothing. His voice fills the room. Smooth and confident. He talks about merit like it's a ladder anyone can climb if they just try hard enough. He tells a story about his early days, polishing it until it shines. The guests applaud, but the sound feels thin, like clapping in a room that already made up its mind. One man checks his phone, pretending to read a message. Another woman takes a sip of champagne she no longer tastes. A couple near the back exchange a glance that says more than words ever could. Something about this feels off, but no one is brave enough to say it out loud. The billionaire doesn't notice. Or maybe he does and doesn't care. He smiles, basking in the moment, convinced this is what leadership looks like. Control, admiration, silence. In the hallway, the waitress straightens her back. She rolls her shoulders once, letting tension slip away. She reaches into her bag and pulls out her phone, checking the time, not rushing, not nervous. Just aware. Back in the party, a low murmur begins near the entrance. It's subtle at first. A pause in conversation. A glance toward the door. A security guard leans in to whisper something to the event manager. The manager's posture stiffens immediately. His smile fades. He nods once, quickly. Someone important has arrived. The billionaire notices the shift in turns. Curious. He expects another wealthy guest. Another donor. Another person eager to shake his hand. He adjusts his jacket and lifts his chin, ready to receive admiration. Then the doors open. The room tightens. Conversations die. Mid-sentence heads turn all at once. It's her. The same woman he dismissed earlier. The same woman he ordered out like an inconvenience. But she's not wearing the uniform anymore. No apron. No tray. She stands tall, dressed simply but confidently, her face calm, her eyes steady. She doesn't rush. She doesn't hesitate. She walks in like someone who knows exactly where she's supposed to be. The billionaire's smile falters. Just a little. Enough to notice if you're watching closely. Whispers ripple through the room. Confusion spreads across faces that were so certain just minutes ago. Someone leans over and murmurs, "Isn't that?" Another guest frowns, trying to place her. She stops near the center of the room. The light catches her face now, clearly. No apology, no fear, just presence. The billionaire clears his throat, forcing a laugh. "There must be some mistake," he says, his voice not as strong as before. "This is a private event." She doesn't respond. She doesn't need to. The event manager steps forward, his voice tight with nerves. "Actually," he says carefully, "she's expected." The room holds its breath. The billionaire looks from the manager to the woman, searching for control, for an explanation that puts him back on top. He doesn't find it. Her eyes meet his for the first time since the hallway. There's no anger in them, no triumph, just clarity. The balance in the room shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough that everyone feels it. And as the billionaire's smile fades completely, one thought settles over the room like a shadow. This story isn't going the way he planned. She walks in with quiet authority, and this time she is not alone. The doors open wide, and the sound alone is enough to pull every eye in the room toward her. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Laughter disappears like it was never real. Even the music seems to fade back, unsure if it's still welcome. Her shoes touch the marble floor softly, but every step echoes anyway. Not because she's loud, because the room is suddenly listening. The billionaire stands up halfway from his chair. Without realizing it, confusion flashes across his face first. Then irritation. Then something closer to fear, though he doesn't yet know why. "What is this?" he asks, forcing his voice into authority, forcing the room to remember who he thinks he is. Before she can answer, another voice cuts in, calm, firm, familiar to many people in that room. It belongs to a guest who doesn't need to raise their tone to be heard. Someone whose name opens doors. Someone whose opinion carries weight. "Actually," the guest says, stepping forward, "this woman is the reason most of us are here tonight." The words hang in the air. The guest turns slightly toward her, then back to the room. "Allow me to introduce her properly. Not as staff, not as service, but as the principal investor behind the charity we're celebrating." A pause. "Just long enough. The founder of the foundation that funds the programs many of you proudly put your names on." Shock moves through the room like a wave. Quiet, but powerful. Faces change instantly. Smiles fall apart. Eyes widen. People look at her again. Really look this time. As if seeing her clearly for the first time is somehow their fault. The billionaire's face drains of color. He opens his mouth, then closes it. He tries to laugh. A short, hollow sound meant to reset the moment. It doesn't work. No one joins in. No one even smiles. The room is turned on him without saying a word. She stands there calmly, hands relaxed at her sides. No rush, no need to explain herself yet. She lets the truth do the work for her. She lets the silence press in on everyone who laughed earlier. Everyone who looked away. Everyone who stayed comfortable. The billionaire finally finds his voice. I had no idea," he says quickly, stumbling over the words. "If I had known," she raises a hand, gently. Not aggressive. Just enough to stop him. The gesture is small, but it freezes him in place. For the first time all night, someone else controls the room. She speaks then. Her voice is steady, clear, not loud. "I didn't come back for revenge," she says. Each word lands carefully. "I came back because this space claims to celebrate dignity. An opportunity," she pauses, lets the silence stretch, lets it become uncomfortable. People shift in their seats. Someone clears their throat. Someone else looks down at the floor like it might open up and save them. "Tonight," she continues, "showed me who truly believes in those words." The sentence doesn't accuse anyone directly. That's what makes it worse. Everyone knows exactly who it's meant for. Eyes turn away. A woman presses her lips together, ashamed. A man who laughed earlier now studies his shoes. Then a sound breaks the quiet. One clap. So, deliberate. It comes from the back of the room, an older guest, someone who's seen enough rooms like this to recognize a moment when it arrives. Another clap follows. Then, another dot. Soon the sound grows, not into wild applause, but into something heavier, something respectful, something real. The kind of clapping that doesn't celebrate a performance, but acknowledges a truth. The billionaire swallows hard. His throat feels dry. He looks around and realizes something is slipping away from him. Not his money, not his status. Something worse. Contra. He straightens his jacket out of habit, but the gesture feels empty now. He tries to speak again, but the words don't come. He has built entire empires on being the loudest voice in the room. Tonight, his silence says more than anything he could say. She meets his eyes. Not with anger, not with triumph. Just clarity. A calm understanding of who he showed himself to be and who she refuses to shrink into. That look lands harder than any insult ever could. He sees it then. Not just her. Himself. The way he pointed. The way he dismissed her without asking a single question. The way he assumed belonging had a uniform, a look, a price tag. The power in the room has shifted. Not with shouting, not with humiliation, but with truth. Clean and undeniable. She turns slightly, addressing the guests. Now my foundation supports causes that lift people up, she says. But money isn't the hardest thing to give. She lets that sink in. Respect is no one. Interrupts. The billionaire lowers his gaze. The room watches him, waiting. For an apology, for deflection, for anything. He opens his mouth again, then closes it. For the first time in his life, he understands that words won't save him here. She nods once. As if closing a chapter only she knew was open. She hasn't raised her voice. She hasn't insulted anyone. Yet the room feels rearranged. People begin to understand the cost of silence, the weight of looking away, the danger of deciding who belongs based on convenience, as she turns slightly. Preparing to move deeper into the room, the billionaire remains standing, frozen between who, he thought, he was, and who everyone now sees. The applause fades, leaving behind a tension thicker than before, but different, sharper, honest. Nothing has exploded. No one has stormed out. Yet everything has changed, and as she takes another step forward, calm and unshaken, one truth settles over the room like a final verdict. Power can be taken. Dignity cannot. The billionaire takes a step forward, and for the first time all night, it feels like effort. His shoulders are no longer squared for command. His voice, when it comes, is quieter. Not rehearsed, not sharp, stripped of certainty. I was wrong, he says, and the words surprise even him. They hang in the air, fragile. I judged without knowing. I saw a uniform and decided that was the whole story. He pauses, swallowing hard. I confused wealth with worth. The room stays silent. No one rushes to rescue him. No one claps. This isn't that kind of moment. This is the kind where the truth has to stand on its own legs. He looks at her as he speaks. Not the crowd, not the ceiling. His eyes are wet, not with tears, but with the shock of recognition. He has built a life on certainty. Tonight took it away. She listens, doesn't interrupt, doesn't nod along to make it easier. She lets him finish because real apologies need room. When he stops, the silence returns, softer now, less sharp. She nods once. An apology matters, she says, calm and even, but change matters more. People lean forward. They sense the shift. This is no longer about one man's mistake. It's about what comes next. She turns to the room, meeting eyes one by one. My foundation will continue its support, she says. A breath ripples through the crowd, relief, mixed with caution, but only for leaders willing to confront their bias. Publicly, honestly, not once, consistently, she lets the words settle. No statements written by someone else. No quiet promises behind closed doors. The room exhales. Some faces soften, grateful for a path forward. Others stiffen, exposed by the mirror she's held up. A few people glance at each other, calculating. Conversations will be different after tonight. Boards will ask new questions. Comfort will be challenged. The billionaire nods slowly. He understands the cost. Now it isn't money, it's humility. The party never fully recovers, but something better replaces it. The music stays low. The laughter changes. People talk in smaller circles, voices earnest. Someone admits they stayed quiet earlier and wishes they hadn't. Another confesses. They laughed because it was easier than thinking. These are not glamorous conversations. They are necessary ones. She moves through the room without being surrounded. Without being asked for photos, she speaks to staff by name. She thanks them for their work. The words land differently now. People notice. Later, coats are collected. Cars pull up. The night thins out. The billionaire stands near the door, watching. Guests leave. When she approaches, he steps aside to give her space. Not performative, just respectful. The same door, a different ending. Thank you, he says quietly. Not for forgiveness, for the lesson. She meets his eyes and nods. Then she walks out into the night. The lights dim behind her. The estate settles. And what lingers isn't the embarrassment of a mistake, but the weight of a truth learned too late by some and just in time by others. Power doesn't reveal character when it's comfortable. It reveals it when it's challenged. Indignity, once recognized, has a way of transforming everyone in the room.